For one car spinning, the car number 41.
Johnny Benson, as a car takes a roll as it slid backwards. Apparently the air just picked the back end of it up and around and rolling over.
Different angle again for that scary crash here in the early laps. Looking across the racetrack, you see the rear of the car starting to get off the ground. You'll get a sense of actually how high this car will lift here as it came off the ground and begins to tumble. Higher than some of the scaffolds there where our cameras are located.
Johnny Benson would have one of the wildest flips we've ever seen at Michigan in 1993. His car would glide in the air up until the wind would eventually catch it with the speed. He would barrel roll when he landed back on the grass, catching flight and then landing on all four tires. This was one of the worst crashes we've seen at Michigan, especially in the 90s.
Jimmy Spencer is second. They come through the tri-oval. Checkered is waving. Ernie Irvan wins, and Rusty spins and gets airborne and flips wildly right at the start-finish line. Very reminiscent of his accident at Daytona.
Oh man, that is too bad. Come on, brother, let's see.
What a way.
Yeah, he's moving. I see him moving around in the car.
Rusty, and go right out of the picture, and it looks, there he is. Earnhardt right up on the back bumper of Rusty, and he does touch him.
That's
and
why
around he goes, and that's one reason that Dale Earnhardt went down there.
That's why he was so concerned, because he touched Rusty Wallace to start this situation, it looks like.
And the car overturns about 6 or 7 times, pirouetting on its nose, end over end, side over side, comes to a rest on its wheels between the start-finish line and turn 1.
The 90s in NASCAR was totally a different era. The crashes were dangerous, and the cars were even faster. Rusty Wallace would get turned at Talladega by Dale Earnhardt Sr. and flip over 12 times and landing on all 4 tires. But when he landed, it seemed like there was nothing left of his race car. Wallace had one of the most horrific crashes of his career, but thankfully he was okay. And Dale Earnhardt Sr. was actually one of the first people to his race car when the safety workers got there. He drove back around the racetrack and offered a lending help to one of his friends and fellow drivers.
Information about
Whoa! That's a huge one for Larson! That car just snapped on him and went straight into the wall.
Hold on to it, hold on. Yeah, I don't know if I blew a tire or what.
that just snapped in a split second.
Yeah.
Just listen. Oh. So he mentions whether he blows a tire. I was wondering right front, but right there, it's clear it gets loose. Kyle Larson knows that as well. So I wonder if he's wondering if the right rear tire started to go down, which is what made the car loose. Kyle obviously has a clear understanding that it was the back first, and then it turns right. And then this big hit by the 14. You mentioned it, Diff. So good to see Kyle Larson out of the race car. That is an absolute gigantic impact, both with the front and then a secondary hit in the rear.
Underneath the 27 car, Casey Atwood almost lost control.
And a big...
Oh, trouble, trouble.
Oh, and one car upside down. Casey Atwood. And sliding through the grass, Kenson flies around.
White and yellow flag.
Atwood's car is destroyed. Saw the officials with the caution flag out very quickly as leader Randy LaJoie came to the flag. But as we mentioned, LaJoie not sure if he had passed under the caution or not, came around at speed.
See them coming in a straight line there. They make contact. You'll see 27 just turn right from the contact from behind.
That car gets sideways to the wind. A little bit of uncontrollable lift there.
And amazingly, Hillenberg comes on around to finish in 4th place.
You see the damage to the right front corner, but like you say, Ned, he did make it around.
And the best thing that happened to to Casey Atwood inside that car is that each one of those impacts took off a little more speed, a little more momentum.
Exactly.
As it went over and around.
But that had happened right there while he was still running 180 miles an hour, and much worse.
Casey Atwood was called to be the next Jeff Gordon. He seemed to have all the stars aligned for him to become one of the best drivers in NASCAR, but in his early days, he had one of the most weirdest flips we've seen at Daytona as his car would slide across the roof and then go barrel rolling in the grass. It was a horrific accident as his car would take flight at the entrance to the tri-oval and basically just land flat on his roof until he got into the grass. Thankfully, Atwood was okay, but man, these crashes back then were just something else.
That's the Lysol Ford. 3 wide into turn 3. There's Kevin LePage. There's Skinner down on the bottom of the racetrack in the 19 car. Oh, got that. And Phil Parsons spins running.
You're fine. Good job, buddy. All right, Bernie, you got a little bit. Good job.
Mark Martin's in the crash. 32 car Jeff Green's in the crash. Michael Waltrip, Wayne Grubb, Matt Kenseth is in the crash.
Wow. I tell you what, 6 caution flag of the day coming out on lap 134, and we have a mess at Atlanta Motor Speedway. Almost a dozen cars involved. Let's go down to Bill Weber.
Here's Phil Parsons down on the inside. Gets a little bit of a nudge from right there behind him. He goes back up the racetrack, pins Landon Amick, and as you see, the racetrack, these guys are already running 3 or 4 wide. They're out in the grass. It's a tri-oval. As they come through the grass and shoot back out, look at all the debris going straight up in the air here. We'll see another angle in a minute. These guys are running through into each other as they come out of the grass back up onto the racetrack. You see Phil Parsons get nudged right here.
That's a 64 car of Jeffrey Bodine, and right behind him was Skinner. Parsons up into Amick, and then everything. No one. Here's Parsons trying to keep it out. Amick comes across. There's contact with the 5 and the 22.
And look at the cars running into each other in the grass. And when they run into each other in the grass, the racetrack comes back up on them because it's a tri-oval. So they come back across, and they all end up past the start-finish line, all in a pile right down here.
There's Mark Martin backwards down there in the 60 car. He loops it around. Another angle again, contact, the 10 car up into the 35. The 35 will come right across, and there's the contact between the 5 and the 83. Now watch coming toward you. You'll see Mark Martin's car spin to the right side of your screen. There's contact there. Looks like Jeff Green. Now there's the 60 car spinning backwards, and Jeff Green, the 32 car, coming at you. There's Michael Waltrip.
This Atlanta crash looked like they were super speedway racing at one point. I mean, all the cars were so packed together until the leader got clipped. And when the leader got clipped, he went all over the racetrack, sending cars spinning and crashing across the front stretch at Atlanta. When Phil Parsons got clipped by the car behind him, this was what would ensue. A massive accident that would involve over half the field and the back half. Cars would scatter across the grass to try to avoid, but regardless, there was so many cars that had actual massive impacts in this crash.
Oh, that's a heavy hit. Right rear, right into the wall, head on like that. Doesn't get any harder, Kevin.
That is one of the hardest hits that you can take in a race car when you get turned in the middle of the straightaway, right front into the wall. And it is so violent, and I'm so happy to see him put that window net down quick. I know the car was on fire and he was in a hurry, but you could hear it in his voice how bad it hurt, and you're going to see him shoot up right here.
You hear him go back to the gas, saving grace.
Well, here it is. Waltrip in the 55, Mears in the 13, Stewart in the 14.
You can see Tony just a little bit late in making that move to get back down. Harvick and Kenseth on the outside had a run, so they were literally going to go by him on both sides.
Watch the 2. The championship leader somehow avoided getting really torn up in that.
See, it looked like Martin Truex was going to get through there. Bobby Labonte caught him right at the end.
They waited all day to do it, but it was big when it happened.
Yes, sir.
See, Michael Waltrip just barely catching the left rear quarter panel of Kevin Harvick. Get him involved. Stewart's car upside down on top of Casey Kane's number 5.
By far, one of the most wildest crashes I've ever seen as a NASCAR fan was the 2012 Talladega playoff race. Tony Stewart tried to block Michael Waltrip on the bottom of the track, wasn't clear, and sent himself and Waltrip back up the track. And it collected everybody but like 6 cars. This was still the most craziest thing that's probably ever happened at Talladega, and that's saying something. This crash will be forever remembered as the big one. Actually, never mind. The everyone.
Oh, goes the 18. The 42 collects the 17 as well. The 62 upside down.
Complete this time by, and look at this pack. Trouble off turn 4. Newman slams the wall. Man comes Schrader, and Newman is in the air and over. Ryan Newman, last year's Rookie of the Year. The rear end ripped from the car as he slides down the asphalt, and when that car hit the grass of the tri-oval, Ryan Newman went upside down.
Let's watch her here and see what happens. Oh, Kenny Schrader got out of control, got into him. Oh, that's what happened, Mike. His right rear tire came off. Car goes airborne, then when it hits the ground, it digs in and just rips it apart. Let me tell you, the way these cars are inside, he's like he's in a capsule.
Crash over in turn 2. Michael Waltrip has hit the wall hard. The car is upside down, and you can see the car is really torn up. Well, Jerry, I said it's sort of on its side, or boy, yes, it is upside down.
They're fixing up that gate where Michael hit over there. Let's take a look one more time and give that Kool-Aid man on the hood of that Pontiac a wild ride. Now, just coming out of turn 2, that's the crossover gate, and Michael hits the juncture of the gate and the concrete wall that begins the back straightaway. The car is literally sawed open, and you see the steering wheel now sticking out to the left side of the car. And this is what's left of Michael Waltrip's Kool-Aid Country Time Pontiac.
By far, one of the most iconic crashes in Michael Waltrip's entire career is when he survived this after the car basically disintegrating after he would hit the exit wall at Bristol Motor Speedway. I have no idea how to even describe this crash. It was so scary, violent to watch. Michael Waltrip would get tight off one of the corners and would hit the guardrail entrance that they would use to get the haulers into the racetrack since Bristol didn't have a tunnel. When he hit that, the entire car basically shredded into a million pieces, and the only thing left was basically Waltrip's seat just laying there.
If I take these glasses off, it kind of reminds you of Beetlejuice. But I promise you, it doesn't look like that from the inside.
Take them off.
If y'all want to see it, I'll show them to you, but it's ugly.
Davey Allison was the man of steel when he was in NASCAR. No matter the accident and no matter how bad his injuries were, Allison would still get out of his race car and show up the next week. Injured or uninjured, Davey Allison was by far the toughest driver in the NASCAR 90s, in my opinion. Unfortunately, we lost him and was not able to see his full potential, but man, was he a skillful driver.
There, let's take a look.
Oh boy. Oh my goodness.
Oh, and I'm sure Kyle was coming over to apologize.
Some sort of mechanical issue on the 5 car for him. Look at that. He is flying when he comes in there.
So I heard him say,
wow.
I have a pedal, which looking back now, maybe he didn't have brakes, and now he does have brakes. That's the one thing that seems to make sense. And to your point, that is why he went over to talk to Ty Dillon.
I'd say we're lucky that wasn't worse than it was. I mean,
that was huge.
I agree, Jeff. That's a big impact. Oh my goodness.
Gosh.
Shove him to the bottom. He just wanted to touch him, man. Just wanted to touch him.
Can't get him to the high side. Here he comes. No,
there he turns him. He turns him.
Bush in the wall.
Oh my God.
Here comes Stewart to the checkered flag. And another car gets in the backside. It's Casey Kane. And they're scattering everywhere
as they come to the line.
Some of these guys hit hard, man.
And one of them was Kyle Busch.
They're still hitting hard. Man, that's an ugly finish. But incredible. Incredible.
But that was 100% mirror driving, and that's what you have. That's what Kyle Busch had to do.
That's what Kyle Busch had to mirror drive. Tony Stewart had to put the car there
around, right,
and stick the car where we saw this same thing in Talladega when.
And, you know, I don't think Stewart. I think once he sees all this, he shouldn't be beating himself up too much on this deal. I mean, like I said, you're looking at the checkered flag at Daytona. All bets are off.
Yeah. That's a hard hit by the 18 car because he hits with the left front and then drives the driver's side into the wall.
Kyle Busch, when battling for the win in 2009 at Daytona, had one of the biggest impacts of his career and also collecting Kasey Kahne. Kyle Busch would block once and then twice on Tony Stewart until it was too late. Busch's car would do a crash that was very similar to what Ryan Newman would have in 2020. But Busch was going at a slower speed than Newman because this could have been way worse. His car would almost flip, but it would come back down. It looked to all be over until Kasey Kahne would know where to go, rear-ends Kyle Busch, sending his car sliding in the air. Kyle Busch's car would be on top of Kasey Kahne's for a brief moment until Kahne would go back down across the track and collect his teammate in the 44 car. This crash was by far the biggest one at Daytona that we had in the Car of Tomorrow era.
Here goes the pass. Gordon making a move on the inside of Earnhardt. Oh, Jarrett's loose.
Down the back straightaway. Big trouble. Earnhardt out. And for the 19th time, Lady Luck deals a bad hand to Earnhardt.
You can see him coming off. That's Jeff Gordon right under Earnhardt. Earnhardt gets into the outside wall, moves over in traffic there. Everybody checked up. There's contact from the car just behind him.
Dale
Jarrett got into him just a little bit. You can see Ernie Irvan there slamming into the outside wall.
And going under him.
The way Dale Earnhardt Sr. could lose Daytona 500 in his career was second to none. I will never understand the luck he had. Up until 1998, he would lose races by flipping a seagull, running out of gas, popping a tire, you name it. And in 1997, Jeff Gordon would flip him over on the back straightaway, and his day was done. Or so we thought. Earnhardt would actually get out of the ambulance and get back in his race car and drive it all the way back to pit road to fix it up because he wanted to finish the Great American Race.
Well, this is the emblematic of the kind of year I've had. Watch the 8 car. My heavens.
Man. It's like maybe a broken wheel or something. I mean, the lug nuts just, don't all come off the car at the same time. It could have been a broken wheel. And Jamie McMurray, oh my gosh, bad day for him. He had such a good run going on.
What a crazy finish.
That is crazy.
Comes off there right up in front of Jamie McMurray. And suddenly a day he thought might end up in victory lane ends up with disappointment once again.
And there's two fellas that didn't do anything wrong at all. Jamie's just a victim, and Junior broke a wheel.
Kyle Busch looked to have this race in hand with only a couple laps to go up until Johnny Sauter would blow a tire and hit the outside wall, bringing out a caution. This would shuffle everything up. This is exactly what happens, it seems like, in NASCAR. When there's a great finish fixing to happen, somebody in the back blows a tire or hits the wall and the caution comes out. But what would ensue after this was calamity for Dale Jr. Jr. would restart third on the final restart of the race, looking to have a shot at winning. He's already had a horrible 2007, and he wanted to end on a high note. Unfortunately for Earnhardt and the 8 team, his tire would fall off his race car, and he would crash.
26th at Martinsville.
Whoa, whoa, guys, whoa, whoa. Oh, no. Oh, my gosh. I have never seen anything like that in my life.
He hit that wall a ton.
Oh, my gosh.
Leading this.
Oh,
look at
Earnhardt got sideways. Somebody looked like made some contact with
Uh-oh, we've got a problem.
Contact here, for sure. Darrell Waltrip and Joe Rutten. Waltrip's car gets on his roof and over and over.
Darrell Waltrip tumbling down the backstretch in what appears to be a very, very serious crash. Joe Rutten, the other car involved in that incident. Darrell Waltrip.
Come on, BW.
It looked like the car was going to slide through the grass there and be okay, but then I don't know if it crossed some pavement or something, it dug in.
Yes, and it caught a road over there, and it just... And when the car got slightly in the air, then it just went on over. The air got underneath it, and it began to...
I would hate at that time to be a spectator of the grandstands and witness this with my own eyes and think, yeah, I just lost one of my favorite drivers to this accident. But that rarely actually happened with these horrible accidents, and thankfully, Darrell Waltrip was prime example. He would flip violently in the grass on the backstretch of Daytona in 1991. His car would dig into the grass and just start flipping violently and violently and violently, and there was no stopping it until the inertia stopped on the grass. Waltrip's car would come to rest with very few movements of the car. We all thought the worst, and Waltrip was taken to an infield care center and then transported to a hospital. But thankfully, Waltrip was able to live to tell the tale, and he kept on racing. This was definitely probably one of Darrell Waltrip's worst crashes he's ever had in his entire career, but he does plenty of interviews talking about it, and it has definitely helped involving the safety back in the 90s.
Crash over in turn 2. Michael Waltrip has hit the wall hard. The car is upside down, and you can see the car is really torn up. Well, Jerry, I said it's sort of on its side, or, boy, yes, it is upside down.
They're fixing up that gate where Michael hit over there. Let's take a look one more time and give that Kool-Aid man on the hood of that Pontiac a wild ride. Now, just coming out of turn 2, that's the crossover gate, and Michael hits the juncture of the gate and the concrete wall that begins the back straightaway. The car is literally sawed open, and you see the steering wheel now sticking out to the left side of the car. And this is what's left of Michael Waltrip's Kool-Aid Country Time Pontiac.
By far, one of the most iconic crashes in Michael Waltrip's entire career is when he survived this after the car basically disintegrating after he would hit the exit wall at Bristol Motor Speedway. I have no idea how to even describe this crash. It was so scary, violent to watch. Michael Waltrip would get tight off one of the corners and would hit the guardrail entrance that they would use to get the haulers into the racetrack since Bristol didn't have a tunnel. When he hit that, the entire car basically shredded into a million pieces, and the only thing left was basically Waltrip's seat just laying there.
That Busch, it's Kurt Busch. Woo, he got to run. Got to run. 97 car. Kurt Busch really got to run. Push the 21 car right on by.
That 97 has shown to be fast, very fast.
And what's at stake for him here? He's
trouble.
Contact on the backstretch. It's Mike Waltrip and now Brian Vickers. Robbie Gordon, 31. The time. Waltrip's over. 1, 2, 3 times for Michael Waltrip.
Well, there's the big one right there.
Took a lot. There's a lot of good cars right there. Is that Sterling Marlin in there? 40 cars in it. That's Michael Waltrip's car upside down.
Terry Smith.
See movement there at the left side of the car.
There's too much at this point in time. If that is indeed, they may be looking at left sides while they're getting fuel, depending on how long they're going to be out there.
Yeah, that's what I would be looking
Oh, trouble.
Gosh, what a hard.
Ryan Newman, hard into the wall. Michael McDowell, hard into the wall.
Caution's out, caution's out.
Terrible crash. That difficult spot between the exit of the carousel and turn 6. You saw Newman tried to drive, it looked like, for a second, and the left rear tire just fell off, now dropping the window net.
It was Biffle coming back on the track that made Newman try to avoid running into him.
Contact between Biffle and Newman.
Yes, Biffle came back on the track. Newman was right there. Got into him and hard into that guardrail, and the tires sends him back out in the middle of the track here into McDowell.
You see the rear end housing loose from the car, and then it goes over the fence. Well, that last impact for McDowell was the one that probably knocked the wind out of him.
What a piece of driving by David Reagan, sliding through there between those crashed cars.
And when you're in a situation like that, you are just a passenger, especially when these cars start turning each other. Here you see, looks like Johnny Sauter slid up in the 30 car into Brian Vickers in the 25. A chain reaction.
Yes, that's Michael Tuckins. Yes.
And Biffle, the pole sitter, looks like he barely got through there.
So you see the tire come off of Michael's car, then it got into that grass softened by the rain, and it just dug in, just like we saw Ryan Newman's last year, and sent the car over.
There's Harvick, Kevin LePage, Johnny Benson,
Terry Labonte. You saw McMurray and Vickers.
Okay, here we go. This might be our best shot.
Watch the car at the bottom there. The blue and yellow car. Slides up right there. Just ever so little contact, which doesn't look like a lot when you're running 185, 190 miles per hour. It's a lot.
There's the 15. The mountain right now, he's going to dig in. There goes one of the tires that Alan talked about. Violent.
Very violent.
In 2004, Michael Waltrip early on was involved in the big one at Daytona. His car would go sliding down across the racetrack and collect the 31 car. His car would then eat into the ground, into the grass, and start barrel rolling violently. There's actually really no footage to see what really went on, but we can only assume and speculate that the car just violently flipped multiple times. The reason we can't really have any footage of it is because as it was flipping, the dirt from the grass just went everywhere, and it was hard to make out what the car was actually doing.
When they took those tires off, this thing really attracted a crowd. All the nearby crew chiefs sent somebody over.
There it is.
Take a look.
We have a wreck coming off turn 2. Todd Bodine goes up in the air.
An awful chain reaction crash at lap 40. Hunt Strickland got into the back of John Andretti.
We called this 10 laps ago. I mean, there you have it. That's why when you look in the mirror and the car is really gaining, getting in on the corner, you just, it's better to let them go on by this early in the race.
Well, buddy, you know, Jimmy Spencer is second. They come through the tri-oval. Checkered is waving. Ernie Irvan wins, and Rusty spins and gets airborne and flips wildly right at the start-finish line. Very reminiscent of his accident at Daytona.
Oh, man. That is too bad. Come on, brother. Let's see.
What a way.
Yeah, he's moving. I see him moving around in the car.
Rusty, and go right out of the picture, and it looks, there he is. Earnhardt right up on the back bumper of Rusty, and he does touch him.
That's
and
why
around he goes, and that's one reason that Dale Earnhardt went down there.
That's why he was so concerned, because he touched Rusty Wallace to start this situation, it looks like.
And the car overturns about 6 or 7 times, pirouetting on its nose, end over end, side over side, comes to a rest on its wheels between the start-finish line and turn 1.
Rusty Wallace would come to rest right after the start-finish line at Talladega after he got turned by Dale Earnhardt Sr. Wallace's car would fly in the air, and then the minute it hit the ground, it started barrel rolling in violent ways. Wallace's car would come to rest on its wheels, and in the following lap after the race was over, Dale Sr. would be one of the first guys at Rusty Wallace's window to offer any support he could to the safety workers. He knew how violent this crash was, and he probably felt really bad. Thankfully, Wallace was able to walk away after this horrible accident.
Not at all. Ryan Newman off turn 4 for the final time. Blaney to the outside, to the inside. Here comes Hamlin up the outside. Wow. Crash into the wall, into the air. Goes Newman.
Upside down.
In a shower of sparks on his roof, Ryan Newman comes across the line, 4th. And comes to rest. Scoring unofficial.
In what would be one of the wildest NASCAR seasons of all time, it kicked off in a very scary way. Ryan Newman, the dominant car towards the end of the race, the Daytona 500, was spun out by Ryan Blaney when he threw a block on Blaney. Blaney's nose would hit the rear bumper of Newman's car, sending him sideways into the wall. His car would be on his roof, and then Corey LaJoie at over 200 miles per hour would come flying in and collect him, hitting him and making him fly even higher than the flag stand. This is by far the scariest crash at Daytona we've had in the last 10 years, in my opinion. Thankfully, Newman was able to survive this because everybody thought the worst when it happened.
Earnhardt on the inside and Sterling Marlin outside.
And Ernie going with Earnhardt down on the inside. That's going to hit. Oh, he
torn up. Earnhardt's number 3. Head on into the wall at 190 miles an hour.
He almost got upside down. That car got very high off the ground.
And they're going to cut him out of the car. And Earnhardt is on his feet. Dale Earnhardt attempting to walk to the ambulance. Never, never doubt that cliche about Dale Earnhardt. One tough customer gives the thumbs up as he walks away from one of the worst incidents in his racing career.
Oh, and there goes Theriault hard into the wall. And that's Reddick in the 19 that had the problem, that kicked it all off with Theriault as he comes grinding to a halt on the front straightaway after a huge, heavy impact here on the front stretch.
There's Reddick high in turn 4 loose. Just about has his truck saved, and along comes Theriault. Look at that right front tire.
Yeah, really nothing Austin can do.
At all.
Tyler Reddick, he was just fighting to regain control of his truck.
A Truck Series has always been an experimental series for young drivers trying to make their way into NASCAR. But one driver who's extremely experienced today is Tyler Reddick. He made a mistake when trying to pit, and Austin Theriault would make contact with him down below. Austin Theriault's truck was sent up the racetrack and went head-on into the outside wall. Austin Theriault was alive, but he was seriously injured, and this actually ended his racing career.
Yeah, he's got to get to the top. The top's going to have the biggest energy here. 21's going to come with a huge shove.
They are 2 and 3 wide behind him. Crossover,
Here he
that's
comes.
Austin Hill in the 21. Big crash, up and over. Caution is out. That's Myatt Snider. First start in his rookie season. It's Austin Hill who gets it done at Daytona, and here's what happened behind him.
That's just a bad scenario. Once you get turned around backwards, if he doesn't get hit in the front end, it probably doesn't get airborne, but it's just you got the other car wedging underneath the front to get the lift there. But it's great to see, like Chad talked about, the safety innovations of these cars. You know, to see Myatt just walk right out, that's a great sign.
And I would be anxious to see how close it was at the time of caution, because look right here, it looks like the 16's out front. Whew, it had to be really close.
The caution wasn't out at that point when they left our screen, so he was clearly ahead by the time he left the bottom of your monitors on television. But unfortunately, Anthony Alfredo getting into the back of the 31 and creating that issue.
I actually was able to witness this from the grandstands, and my contacts fell out of my eye and I was unable to see on the backstretch. But all I saw was a big fire flame, and I knew something bad had happened. And what had happened was Myatt Snider would be lifted into the catch fence, ripping the front and rear of his car off. The only thing left of his car was just the cockpit. That is something extremely dangerous, but thankfully Myatt Snider was able to walk away from this. It still blows my mind how safe these race cars have gotten over the last 25 years. Just unbelievable.
My rookie year, punctured a tire, sent the car hard into the wall. And I ended up with a broken leg, fractured clavicle, just numerous injuries.
He is out of the car on the stretcher. He is conscious, and they are going to load him into the ambulance.
Whoa! And Derry Cope has gone up over the tire barrier. Let's see what happens.
John Krebs. John Krebs goes, wow.
Oh, yeah.
Out through there in front of Derry Cope.
Like I said, folks, there's trouble everywhere around this course.
That is a wild ride. There you can see Cope. He is out of the car and walking away. There is John Krebs, and boy, are we glad to see him up walking around after an unbelievable incident.
I take these glasses off, it kind of reminds you of Beetlejuice. But I promise you, it doesn't look like that from the inside.
Take them off.
If y'all want to see it, I'll show them to you, but it's ugly.
Sprague got involved, Corelli's involved, Bodine is involved, and I'm not sure where that started, but it's definitely ahead of them.
Corelli said I'm okay. I think that was Corelli's voice said I'm okay, because he pounded that wall hard.
That one's going to have to come behind the wall.
Corelli talking to the chest round team. Boy, he hit it, got airborne a little bit. Reminiscent of what happened yesterday to Musgrave. Let's take another look at it.
There we see Barry Bodine is going to spin. He's going up and hit the wall. Now Corelli's trying to go by, and bam, look at this.
Man.
Oh, man, it almost goes over. And also Sprague is involved, and
Frank
his
Davis.
dad missed him. Jeff Bodine, I believe, is going to be able to stop in time. Let's one more look.
But the trouble is in front of him.
Yes.
Corelli sees it. Whack. That's a hard hit. That's what he saw. And heard.
You never expect scary crashes at Martinsville. Martinsville's a short track, right? I mean, what could honestly go that wrong? But back in the 90s, it just felt like you could crash it anywhere at any moment, and it would be horrific. This is what happened at Martinsville in the Truck Series. There was a violent crash in the front stretch when a lap car got spun, and it ended up hitting Rick Corelli. His car would create a massive impact with the other car and bounce into the inside wall. The impacts were phenomenal.
Earnhardt on the inside and Sterling Marlin outside.
And Ernie going with Earnhardt down on the inside. That's going to hit. Oh, they touch trouble.
Terrible crash. Front of the field, all torn up. Earnhardt's number 3. Head on into the wall at 190 miles an hour.
He almost got upside down. That car got very high off the ground.
And they're going to cut him out of the car. And Earnhardt is on his feet. Dale Earnhardt attempting to walk to the ambulance. Never, never doubt that cliche about Dale Earnhardt. One tough customer gives the thumbs up as he walks away from one of the worst incidents in his racing career.
Attack with a 32. McMurray says, hey, I was in front the last time. You took it away from me earlier today. He's going to try and take it away from here.
Oh, he's hung in the middle. Here comes Keselowski.
Got trouble now. Keselowski's got Legato on the high side. Look out, they're going to go around.
McMurray.
Been behind. Oh, big crash. Oh, and up into the wall. Look out. The caution is out. The race will finish. And it looks like Brad Keselowski is going to get the race win.
Bring it here. Bring it here.
See McMurray trying to get in line right here, right behind Harvick, just not enough room.
Yeah, and he had to check up for just a second because he was on the right rear quarter of Kevin Harvick. And then once he goes around, the chaos begins. Look at Setzer. Wow.
Good to see him get out of that car, but that catch fence does its job.
Well, and remember, they raised the catch fence after last year's race here. Also stretched it out over the racetrack. You're right. It did its job. Another view. Let's see right there. Jamie McMurray just trying to get in. He was going to try to get there and push Kevin Harvick. Just
got to remember,
an opening.
They're coming to the checker flag, so they're not going to let off.
Heading into Talladega every year, you know chaos could happen at any point of the race. But most of the time, it'll happen on the final lap and potentially the very final few feet of the race. But this time, one of the most dangerous crashes ever at Talladega was actually in the middle of turns 3 and 4 of the final lap of the 2010 Nationwide Series race at Talladega. Jamie McMurray tried to clear himself in the bottom lane and was unable to do so as there was already a car who was inside. As McMurray and the rest of the field would slide back up into the pack, a few cars would go into the catch fence, ripping it into shreds. This is something you rarely or never ever see, is the corner catch fence actually becoming into pieces. This is one of the most destructive crashes at Talladega history in the NASCAR Nationwide Series. Thankfully, all drivers that were in this crash were okay, but it was one of the most violent crashes we've ever seen. A car ripping up the catch fence into flames. At least it made for a cool photo.
Stewart just bulled his way through there to get an opportunity, and he's going to have it too.
Final corner at Daytona. Who's going to get here first? Regan Smith 7, Keselowski 22, Stewart 33, and contact! Smith turned around. Tommy Stewart is going to win this race. And a terrible crash coming to the finish.
This is a big, big wreck.
Kyle Larson's car with the front end severely torn off. That is the engine out of the 32 car.
That's in the grandstand side of that wall. Yeah. Also a tire and wheel assembly.
As the field came to the checkered flag, watch the white 32 car. And again, Kyle Larson did climb from that machine. You heard from him a minute ago.
Kyle Larson had one of the most vicious accidents in Daytona in 2013 in the NASCAR Nationwide Series. His car would be catapulted into the catch fence, releasing a tire into the grandstands. This is one of the most dangerous crashes for a race car driver and spectators. This is something that's never happened since, and thankfully. The tire catapulted itself over the catch fence into the grandstands and injuring a couple fans. Thankfully, this has never happened since, but this is one of the darkest days at Daytona we've had in some time, up until 2020 when Ryan Newman had that vicious accident. Still to this day, it shocks me that this accident even happened.
Hanging tough here on the restart.
Oh, here we go.
Got trouble. That's Casey Kane that goes sideways. Joey Logano nowhere to go.
Oh, my.
Clint
Half the
Boyer
field
through
is
the grass. The big one at Daytona has happened at lap 97.
That is the huge one at Daytona.
Justin Allgaier.
Oh, and the
Denny
18
Hamlin,
gets on its roof.
And Kyle Busch rolls upside down.
A rain delay Coke 0400 Daytona raced on a Sunday, and they already had a big one earlier in the race, collecting Jeff Gordon, Dale Jr., and Tony Stewart, but the big ones weren't done yet. And it was when Joey Logano got hooked down the backstretch with Casey Kane, and it sent everybody spinning and crashing. Kyle Busch even ended up on his roof after this one. This crash would ultimately be the deciding factor of the race, as rain would come later on, and Eric Almirola would be able to take home the victory as one of the few cars remaining without damage.
Crash over in turn 2. Michael Waltrip has hit the wall hard. The car is upside down, and you can see the car is really torn up. Well, Jerry, I said it's sort of on its side, or, boy, yes, it is upside down.
They're fixing up that gate where Michael hit over there. Let's take a look one more time and give that Kool-Aid man on the hood of that Pontiac a wild ride. Now, just coming out of turn 2, that's the crossover gate, and Michael hits the juncture of the gate and the concrete wall that begins the back straightaway. The car is literally sawed open, and you see the steering wheel now sticking out to the left side of the car. And this is what's left of Michael Waltrip's Kool-Aid Country Time Pontiac.
Out of the second turn and down the backstretch. That's Waltrip and Alan Kowicki leading this.
Oh,
look at
Earnhardt got sideways. Somebody looked like made some contact with
Uh-oh, we've got a problem.
Contact here, for sure. Darrell Waltrip and Joe Rutten. Waltrip's car gets on his roof and over and over.
Darrell Waltrip tumbling down the backstretch in what appears to be a very, very serious crash. Joe Ruttman, the other car involved in that incident.
That we see Darrell. He's down on the inside of Kowicki, and Joe Ruttman right behind him. Now here comes Earnhardt. Looks like someone had tapped him. Kowicki came down and touched Darrell.
Threw him back into Ruttman.
Ruttman gets in the side of him. And here's the road they hit.
Yep. When he hits the road, it gets him airborne, and the car starts over. Of course, he was being pushed by the car number 75. That was just a circumstance.
Well, here it is. Waltrip in the 55, Mears in the 13, Stewart in the 14.
You can see Tony just a little bit late in making that move to get back down. Harvick and Kenseth on the outside had a run, so they were literally going to go by him on both sides.
Watch the 2. The championship leader somehow avoided getting really torn up in that.
See, it looked like Martin Truex was going to get through there. Bobby Labonte caught him right at the end.
They waited all day to do it, but it was big when it happened.
Yes, sir.
See Michael Waltrip just barely catching the left rear quarter panel of Kevin Harvick. Get him involved. Stewart's car upside down on top of Casey Kane's number 5.